Be with you.
Now, we're going to reiterate some things because there's constant developments on these issues. So today you're in for a lot. Some action items that we can ask you to take and continue to follow up on, some court decisions and what's going on with that. I'm going to let David fill in that. There's some box office hits that are worthy of your time and money. There are some CDC guidelines and some guidance in our state that's not worth neither your time or your money, but we need to take action on that. And then, of course, we're going to plug the Family Foundation's Kentucky Family Forum. So now, if you have not gotten the last few, you can go back to wjmm.com, click on their podcast tab and Love and Lordship links, and you'll find today and previous 2 days. That would not get you back to last Friday, but it would give you some of the other Love and Lordship ones. Or you can go to loveandlordship.com and find all of these through our Podbean and Vimeo pages, articles, all of those. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate your response. You can contact me at loveandlordship@gmail.com. That's loveandlordship@gmail.com. So with that said, we're going to pitch it to David. David, tell us a little bit what's going on with the SB 150. I know we've been lingering on that, but there's things happening, right, with the circuit court and all that.
Yeah. Well, I'll kick off with the legal update.
Yes,
Greg,
yes.
You and I talked about how the portion of SB 150 that protects kids from these harmful gender transition interventions that had been challenged in court. There had been a federal judge here in Kentucky that had put an injunction from that law going into effect. The attorney
and explain to our listeners what that means. If he puts an injunction on it at that moment, what happens?
It's essentially holding the enforcement of the law while the case continues.
So basically, it goes back to what it was before the law, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And in that case, the judge actually put that in place before the day before the law went into effect to begin with.
Okay.
On that piece of law. But so that challenge, our Attorney General is defending the law in that case, and he had appealed that decision to the Sixth Circuit. There are a number of challenges going on these laws. I'm thankful to the Lord there are now 20 states that have passed similar laws protecting kids from these harmful, damaging procedures. Tennessee is another, our neighbors to the south, also in the Sixth Circuit.
Yes.
So
right.
they had a legal challenge to their laws. We had actually joined with our family policy allies in Tennessee and a number of others and submitted a brief, a front of the court brief in that case because they were a little further along in that case than we were here in Tennessee. Anyways, the good news is that late last week we got word from the Sixth Circuit. The Sixth Circuit actually put a stay, essentially undid the hold on the Tennessee law.
Right.
And so Tennessee's law protecting children from so-called gender transitions has gone into effect, which is good news for Tennessee.
Right.
Why is that also good news for Kentucky?
Yeah.
Because what has now happened is both of those cases have been combined. There have been arguments set. And I'm optimistic that we're going to see the Sixth Circuit also put a stay, hopefully, Lord willing, on our law so our law can go into effect. As we wait for the arguments to be made later this year in the Sixth Circuit.
And those are obviously, as you have expressed, all really good developments. But what I'm hearing is, and for our listeners, the fact that they have accepted both cases and now put them together and are willing to hear them, the fact that they stayed the injunction for Tennessee likely means it will for Kentucky soon as well.
Yeah, and again, they're not arguing to the full merits of the case yet, but you do have to make a legal argument. What it means is that the Sixth Circuit is at least skeptical of some of the arguments that the ACLU made. Look, I'm gonna go much further than that. It is
You can do
outrageous. It is outrageous that any federal court would step in and stop a duly enacted law that seeks to protect children from being mutilated. There's really nothing more foundational in terms of a right role of government in terms of some of these laws and protecting kids. But this issue continues to be a big issue across the nation. There's a number of court challenges playing out. We are continuing to work with our Family Policy Council allies, and we'll be submitting a friend of the court brief again at the Sixth Circuit on both now that these cases have been combined. These are important cases, so we need to continue to pray that we have judges in the Sixth Circuit and elsewhere in the country that uphold truth and righteousness and the law in these cases.
Absolutely. And in line with that, on the local level, we're finding out here in Kentucky that people are still following the lawless advice or guidance from Governor Beshear's Kentucky Department of Education. We know Fayette County and now Jefferson County. Enlighten our listeners to what's going on with that and some of the things there.
Yeah, Greg, you and I have talked about some of the other provisions of SB 150 relating to protecting kids from LGBTQ indoctrination, also the requirements in the law that require common sense bathroom policies to be set into place. Those provisions, both Lexington and now Louisville, have been looking to this flawed guidance, that the politicized guidance that the Beshear administration, Commissioner Jason Glass, their Kentucky Department of Education put out. And I continue to be so thankful for the tremendous work that Attorney General Daniel Cameron and his team did.
Absolutely.
They just put out, also recently, a 13-page Attorney General opinion completely refuting this absurd guidance. And folks can go to our website at KentuckyFamily.org. Michael Johnson and our team put together a very nice summary of what the Attorney General said, and we link to his guidance. But I'll summarize. You need to follow the law.
Yes. And explain what the law was there for, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And school districts need to follow all of the provisions. That would include protecting kids in K through 5, saying you can't teach human sexuality, and then further than that, saying you cannot teach at all sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, what I would call indoctrinating kids in the LGBTQ agenda
Grooming.
at all in K through 12. And then further than that as well, schools need to put in place, as required as the law, to put in place a common sense bathroom and intimate use facility policy.
Protect our children.
Yep. And to stop this madness that we're seeing, where some school districts are allowing typically biological boys who say they're girls to have access to facilities.
That's how simple it is.
So Louisville, Lexington, Jefferson County, Fayette County have been very front and center about looking for ways to not follow the law. And so with this new guidance out, there really is no grounds. And really, these school districts are putting themselves in legal jeopardy if they don't follow the law. So we have recently put out another follow-up action alert to our supporters here in Lexington, in Fayette County, encouraging them to contact the board again, and folks can go to our website at KentuckyFamily.org, get signed up for those alerts. And then, as you mentioned, Greg, we've also sent a similar alert out now in JCPS, in Jefferson County Public Schools, because they have publicly are now announced that they're considering how they're essentially not going to follow these important
circumvent
provisions.
or literally ignore it.
Right. And it's just, Greg, it continues to be just so troubling to see the lengths in which these school districts will go to subvert the law, knowing that what's really behind that is they want to continue to promote an ideology that just simply doesn't have any place in our public schools.
No, it really shouldn't have in our society, although we know that stuff happens, but definitely not with our children.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Now, David, along those lines, because it does impact us, we've got things like, because we'll get back to, let me ask a question before I get into this. Let me ask a question. On your KentuckyFamily.org/take action, what can they find there for Fayette County? Can they find their board members through that, or the central office? What will they find there so they'll know what they're looking for?
We have alerts set up where folks, when they take action, they'll be able to send a message to all the members of the school board.
Okay, good.
And the superintendent in both Fayette County and in Jefferson County.
So that's what they're looking for. So go to that and do that, right?
And if you have if you've got a personal, a personal relationship, you can reach out over the phone as well. Look, this is an important time to really bring some accountability to these school districts as we, hard to believe it, but before we know it, it'll be time for schools to start.
And we need to
back off
stand
again.
as disciples of Christ and as His church. We need to stand for what's right.
Right.
And
look,
it is right.
We care about we care about the hearts and minds of our kids in the public schools, and so.
Let me get back to what I was going to make the connection with on the federal level, because it falls right in with this. Is just this last week, the CDC came out with some statements and information about men chest feeding. I know that's Maybe we're PG-13 now, but it's really crazy that we would even have that conversation, that we are not only so lawless, but we are so ignorant, and we're so depraved. The Bible talks about that.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, this falls right in line with the things that we're seeing happening with the people who are trying to circumvent these laws and push them away or ignore them so they can continue getting at these kids.
Yeah, day by day, Greg, continue to just be astounded both by the administration, the Biden administration at the federal level, the lengths at which they are going to promote this radical ideology that has absolutely no basis in science or biology. We're continuing to see it in the abortion context as well. And unfortunately here in Kentucky, we have a governor and an administration here that is very much in lockstep and alignment on those issues. And
please remember that come November. I can say that. So please remember that come November, that you would remember what you're voting for. That's all I'm asking you to do, is to remember what you're voting for.
There will be a number of important issues to take into account, but certainly the issue of life, the issue of protecting kids from this radical ideology, protecting our kids from these harmful surgeries, that's going to be a big issue.
Well, and another one as we begin to close out here, David, it's not on the national level, but it does impact nationally because it's in California, and we all know what that means, bellwether, and some of the things there. But they've literally come out now in part of this grooming, indoctrinating, and even with, I alluded to a box office, I won't say anymore because you and I haven't seen it, but a movie about trafficking.
Yeah.
And California had an opportunity to make child trafficking a felony, and they chose not to. That's right in line with all those mainstream media and all those who fall in line with the whole idea of abortion on demand at any time.
Right.
We're not really valuing life at any level. Use it, abuse it, whatever you want to do. Destroy it. That's really sad. That's what we're really dealing with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's one other thing we want to hit before we close here. David, you've already talked about the Take Action at KentuckyFamily.org/takeaction, but also October 7th.
Yes.
Plug the forum again.
Yeah, we're, as we shared last week, we have now, ticket sales are underway for our first ever.
And they're going like barn-burners, right?
Kentucky Family Forum. Folks go to our website again. It's going to be a day-long Christian Public Policy Biblical Worldview Conference. We've got, as I mentioned last week, Greg, you're going to be speaking, but we've got a biblical worldview expert from our friends at Family Research Council. Some of our other national allies will have representatives there. We've got some of our strong pro-family leaders in the General Assembly, grassroots leaders.
Yes.
We're going to be covering a lot of important topics. I think it's really going to be an important event that will equip Kentuckians to be the salt and light that we called to be. So,
and we will have that not only at KentuckyFamily.org/events.
Yes.
Or you can just go to KentuckyFamily.org and click on it. But we will have that information on the podcast. When you click on that, I always put those on there. So, David, thanks again for being with us. Thanks to you for joining us. Thanks for those who have contacted us and let us know. Many are watching these Family Foundation Fridays, and we appreciate that and your encouragement that you're giving us in that. On Monday, I will continue back with some messages from our book, The Authority of Love. So we'd love to hear what you think about that, and join us and invite your friends to join us. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. Make it a great day, and God bless in Christ. Stay tuned for Bill Reeser and Encounter, and then at 12:45 for my good friend Greg Horn and Hope is Here. I'm Greg Williams, and you're listening to The Authority